to Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. And today my guest is someone who I really don't need to introduce because he is everywhere, every festival, every school event, every function we have in Woburn, and we're so deeply grateful that he is. Our former school committee chairman and current school committee member, Michael Mulrenan. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Samantha. Thank you for having me. And to start off with, I also want to thank Woburn Public Media, not just for today's production of your shows, but all of what they do for the community. I don't know if the community is aware of all that the people up here under Brian's leadership, between Lauren, Jen, Anthony, Mr. Hearn, what goes on here at Woburn Public Media. I know yesterday they hosted a fantastic telethon, another community event that just exemplifies what Woburn is all about. And I know part of your show is to bring out a lot of the community members, a lot about Woburn, so I just wanted to highlight what goes on here in Woburn Public Media, as well as the morning announcements that the students from Woburn High do each and every morning from the seats that we're sitting in. A lot of people aren't aware of that they can tune in across the city and find out what is happening here at Woburn Memorial High School each and every day, whether it's a school lunch program, sporting events, the play going on. The students are here, they're learning production equipment like this, and they move on to other careers. So it's going to be fantastic up here for 2020.
It's wonderful, and thank you for mentioning that. This studio actually does a lot more work and is way more accessible than I even knew before I started working with you recently. So thank you for mentioning it. It is a great crew and a great service to our community. It's really important that we have ways of communicating with our community, and while we do have a couple of newspapers, they're regional. Exactly. And so I think what we're doing here in general, not just on this show, but what the service does overall is really important to communicating. So thank you for coming in, because one of the things that I think is difficult for us to understand and know a lot about is the school committee and how it works and how we as community members can get involved. So appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate being here.
Yeah.
I know I could probably help out by saying that the school committee oversees the school system. We're basically in charge of policies and procedures under the superintendent. So that's a beginning. As my beginnings go way, way back, it was one of those things that I had the opportunity to get elected, which I did many years ago, and it's been a fantastic time. Each and every event, each and every time I get to do something with the community, it's part of the schools. It's just a great experience to carry with you.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. And, I said with a smile on my face that you're everywhere, but I meant it. You are literally everywhere. I can think of every, play and every performance my kids did in their elementary schools and their middle schools, and you were always there. Why do you think that's so important, just to spend that extra time out there?
I think that's part of the role of a school committee member. I feel as though that's what the citizens elected you to do, to get involved, to be a voice or a vision, a spokesperson for them, so that when, as you know, coming up very shortly, we have the budget sessions coming up, and the superintendent and the administrative team are fighting for each dollar we can throughout the community. So I can have the opportunity that whether it's a play or a performance, a sporting event, or whatever it may be, because I was there, I can see the hard work and dedication that the coaches, the advisors, especially the kids, it goes back to the kids themselves in this community that are working hard, getting involved in something. And I think it says so much about what they're doing each and every day in this school and all of our schools to give back to the community. So I think as far as me being everywhere, I have to thank my lovely wife, Stacy, my daughter, Leah, her husband, Andres, and my brand new addition, my grandson, Oliver, for allowing me to do what I do so often and being out of the house and being out and about in the community that I love.
Well, he is the best accessory when you have your grandson around. I love seeing the pictures of that. You mentioned elections and voting and getting out and meeting people, and I do think that's an important function. We had an exciting election this year. We have 2 new school committee members, and Andrew and Colleen. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to have some new folks on board and what you're looking forward to their contributions to be.
Well, it's right. We had an exciting election, as you know. Maybe you'll get the opportunity to get Dr. Wells back in, and maybe Patty Chisholm, where the first time in Woburn history there was an actual tie. It came down to that 1-2 votes there for those 2 individuals. And, that has never happened. So it was interesting for the city. So now the city, because of the school election, have to go back and kind of look into the charter and see, well, what if it happens again? So I think it was a learning experience for the city at large, but it's probably going to be a learning environment for even the kids here in this building, because you're teaching them civics, you're teaching them about local government. Yeah. So it happens. It happens right here, that the importance of, and I know, you mentioned the new members, but all the members are telling the community to get out and vote. And there's a perfect example of how every vote counts.
That's right.
Before I talk about Andrew and Colleen, a great asset welcoming them to the committee, but I also want to thank both Rick and Joe Demers, Rick Meadows and Joe Demers, for the many, many years of service and dedication to the students. Colleen and Andrew, great addition to the committee. Another set of eyes, new ideas, new perspective. I know Andrew's a young man, young family. Colleen's been involved. I know she's been out and about in the community as well, trying to get out there and see what's going on. It's going to be a learning experience for them. It's a lot to learn right out the gate. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, they're right in the midst of all the good programming, but then again, it's going to be into the budget season for those folks to learn how a budget operates, which is an experience in itself, just to learn how do the kids get the pencils and pens in their hands. There's a process for all those little things up until building a new high school or building a new building somewhere. So I look forward to working with them. I know I'm on personnel subcommittee currently now, and Colleen serves on that with me, and Andrew and I are also on the committee for resource. So it's going to be good.
I love that. There's so much about a school system that isn't about what happens in the classroom. It's all the things that make the school operate. You've been on school committee for a long time now, more than 2 decades if memory serves.
All right, so you've done your homework.
You were a very young man when you started.
Still am.
And yeah, absolutely, especially at heart, right? Why have you come back every couple of years for all this time to continue to serve in this capacity?
I think it's like anything else, it just gets in your blood, it gets in your system. I think, you're kind of like, well, do I want to give it up? Am I not effective? Am I not, productive? Am I not getting anything across to people? Yeah. I feel as though, as you mentioned, I'm out and about, so I'm in the community. When I do run for election, I seem to get good turnout for my vote. I think it's fun, it's exciting, it's sometimes challenging, obviously, on occasion, but I think it gets in you, and just, again, the opportunity you have to see the students come through the school system, and it is kind of nice to see them later on in life and say, hey, I remember you, you gave me my diploma, or you came to my game, or you were somewhere else, or they just remember me, because like you said, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and each and every time I do it, it seems like another new experience.
Yeah, I have young adult children now, and I always love what they remember about school, right? And the things that they do and all of that. So it's really fun to see that you're participating in many of those things. When you look back at the last year, what are you most proud of achieving from an education system standpoint?
Well, I think, and I know
I'm sure your grandson is probably number one on the list, but right after that.
I should have just brought him right onto the table. And
I'm a baby person. That child would have been sitting on this lap.
It happens everywhere I take him, so we'll plug in Oliver once again when I can. But the accomplishments, I think, and you're going to have some other administrators, and I know you've had the principal up here, the program of studies we're going to get from her at our Wednesday night meeting. The excitement of just the new Dr. Baltasari, Mary Ann Ryan, our new special ed director, the superintendent, HR. We now have Judy O'Neill. And if you tell me I'm everywhere and I'm seen and I'm out and about, the energy that Judy O'Neill has brought to the HR department for the school district, and hopefully, I don't know if you can get her to sit still on the studio floor like this, but Judy O'Neill is out and about right now. We did have some concerns in the community that diversity in our staffing and diversity isn't really being met. So of course, Judy O'Neill is out there as one of her goals is to kind of go after that, as well as our new community liaison, Andriana Sheldon. Andriana speaks 2-3 languages. She's out there. I kind of course, people may or may not remember the old welcome wagon. When you moved into a community, you got a little welcome wagon kit, where to take the kids for ice creams, where the parks are. So that's Adriana's job now with us. And it's because she's very lingual, she can be bilingual to the community, bilingual to our new families moving into Woburn, and tell them, to direct them where they, okay, this is the school your child's going to go to, this is where you live, this is how you even, apply for free and reduced lunch. This is your bus schedule. This is it in your native language, so they get it. And the families aren't so lost or concerned in the mesmerizing paperwork that goes along with school registration. And it's good to know, just last week we learned that she's got her own little satellite location at the Woburn Public Library, another great community asset to the communities, but the school system has been using. And by having Adriana just being visible, being accessible, not in a school environment, more of a relaxed environment, she's over there seeing people. Again, we talked before we came on there, she's seeing people probably this afternoon. It's not 7 to 2 for anybody in our school system. So I think the additional staff and resources available to the students and the families of Woburn was a big plus this year. And again, getting back to the budget process, I'm here again as always, try to ask the community to remind your aldermen to support the budget that the school department puts out because of all the good that we're going to be doing in 2020.
You know, it's budget season. We also have some new legislation in Massachusetts that's been passed that may provide us some additional funding. We don't yet know where that is and what it will be, but
I thought you had the magic
Yeah.
number in front of you.
I can make up a magic number, all right, but
I wish you could.
I won't spend money we don't quite yet have. But when you have a really interesting perspective, having been part of the school committee for so long and seeing the evolution and seeing many, many budgets and seeing the town grow and evolve overall, not just in the school system. Where do you feel are our biggest areas of need for investment in our schools?
Well, I think right now we're going to just have to find a way to get the buildings up and fit for our children. I know it's hard to believe that this building is going on 10, 12 years old. The Reeves School, which some people still refer to as the new Reeves, that's an old building right now. And we're going to be hearing from Mr. David Dunkley, our Building and Grounds Director, that aging, even people that own their own home, your roof goes after so many years. Your boiler goes. I don't think we have that many dishwashers around, but your things wear out. There's wear and tear. And again, our buildings go constantly. You go by a school and there's still people in the parking lot, evenings, nights, weekends. So it's going on that we have to maintain them for the future of our city.
And there is some, I've heard other people talk about perhaps an underinvestment in middle school. I think Dr. Crowley talked a little bit about that's an area that he sees. What's your perspective on the middle school and what we're doing? Are we been in the right place? Do we need to do more?
We need to do more. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody, and just so happens that that's probably top on the administrative team list right now for the leadership. I just heard when you had Principal Callahan here that Mr. Tully from the band, he used to float around to all the little school elementary and express interest and get the little ones interested in band. Well, now he shifted his focus and direction to the middle school. Again, like a little recruitment kind of an aspect. So that's happening. I think the overall curriculum of the both middle schools are going to be better aligned this year, perhaps with the work of many people. I know that's part of the curriculum subcommittee working on that with the administration team as well to get sure that what you're doing over at the Kennedy, you're doing the same thing at the Joyce.
One of the things is, I haven't been to very many school committee meetings in person myself, I have to admit. I've watched a number of them on recordings from the studio here, right?
Who hasn't, right? I mean, our viewing audience is up there, I'm sure.
Right, you hear afterwards about a topic that was really interesting, so you go look it up or whatever. There's not a lot of parents there. I mean, I don't think there's ever been one that I've watched where there's been a lot of parents there, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The meetings are set schedule. How can and should parents get involved? Should they come to meetings?
They should, I know the superintendent's on Twitter, myself is on Twitter. Every school has a website. Obviously, the topic you bring up, nobody comes. Well, obviously, I sat here tonight and told you that we're going to have a bus fee. Wednesday's meeting would be full. We're not going to do that, people.
Don't worry.
I don't know when this is going to air. But unfortunately, when you do sue people at the meetings, it's usually a concern that they have, which doesn't seem to, we don't want to project that everything's wonderful because there is work to be done. But I do want to express to any concerned parent out there that first start with your teacher. I mean, I can speak to anybody. I'll help you out with any concerns you may have, but it starts at the school level. Obviously, if someone has a concern, go ahead and speak to your teacher or the building principal herself or himself, and then, hopefully that will get addressed. Coming to meetings, sure, we're online, our agendas are usually posted. Sometimes there's some great topics. Again, yourself is interested in just getting community knowledge out there, part of this show, getting people aware of what's going on. For instance, we're going to have, like I talked about, the program of studies. And I know that could be a whole meeting in itself, just the availability of student services up here at this high school. Again, over the years, how many things have changed. And I don't know if Ms. Callahan or anybody has talked to you about it. We now have NCI, what is it called? A forensic room and a forensic study up here, which, again, a career path that a student might want to go into. And it's just reallocating a room or reallocating space that's, directing to what the students need. I think we're trying to get them college and life ready, not just college ready, college and career ready. So I think, if a parent wants to come to the meeting, more welcome. We have plenty of seats. Unfortunately, the only time they do attend is perhaps their students are going to be there, their children are coming in to, speak with us. I know there's lots and lots of success stories out there that would love to hear from any parent that has a success. I talked to the brand new chairperson now, Ms. Crowley, at the end of the school year. I'm going to try to invite a couple of Eagle Scouts in town that just a couple of young men became Eagle Scouts in the community, and I think that's an achievement we have to talk about. There's our wrestling coach here at Woburn High, Mike Pazziali, just got 100 wins. And little things like that, they do make a difference. And I think that's what communities like this, the city of Woburn, are all about.
Well, I think they make a big difference because we know that students learn not in a bubble. They learn in the context of their town or their city and their home and their life outside of school. And so all these things, we do deserve to celebrate them. I think it's one of the wonderful things about our community. You mentioned sort of repurposing classrooms and using our space wisely, and we do have real issues around infrastructure, as any building would, right? That's not anything Woburn has done well or wrong. It's just the reality of things age over time. One of the big questions that come up is we've had new developments in parts of town. We've had some schools aging. We have some schools that have slightly larger classrooms than others, particularly at the elementary level. How do you think we should be looking at in 2020? Do we have an issue of class distribution we need to address, or is it something we just need to watch?
Well, right now we need to watch it. I know at a recent meeting, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, Ms. Sprague, gave us a rundown of where we're at with just that topic. And you're right. Go ahead and ride around Woburn. There's a lot happening here in the city of Woburn. A lot of new developments, a lot of new homes. And for whatever reason, I like to think it's a school system. We're attracting a lot more people here. So when the time comes, we're going to have to address that matter. And I think it comes down to, sitting down at the table with the community, getting the community involved, let them know that we do have an issue and the way to fix it, come up with a couple of different options of how we're going to try to create an environment that everybody's going to be satisfied with. So it's not going to be an easy task. It's on the radar of the administrators right now. I know Dr. Crowley's well aware of it, and he's trying to address it through the administrative team to get some answers and get some options, some different ideas out there. Again, thinking outside the box, a little bit different than just straight mainstream. You live here, you go there, and that's the way it's going to be, because that's the way it always was, and that's not going to work anymore.
It's really funny when you say that. I think the growth is normal and healthy, and there are things that we have to watch, and it does stress our infrastructure in other ways. But it always surprises me that our actual student population hasn't grown in the last couple of years yet. Doesn't mean it won't, but it's something that we have to watch for. I know there may be parts of the town that are growing in different paces and changes. One of the things that I think is always interesting is, so I am an active member of the Woburn Residents Facebook group. And a lot of discussion happens there about a lot of topics, including things that are related to the school. Not all of it makes its way in any formal capacity, right? Back to the superintendent, back to the principal, back to the school committee. What advice would you give people who are residents and citizens of Woburn to channel those questions in a way that's going to most drive action?
Well, I think, obviously each and every school, elementary, middle school, even up here at the high school, there's what's called a school council. And it's a parent group, it's a citizens group, not necessarily parents, but you can get involved at that level and you can be part of the decision making. You can have your input and express your concerns and your ideas to the principal right there at the table by joining your school council. And I think if anybody wanted to, just get to your school, that you're concerned with, email that principal, say, do you have any openings at your school council? If so, how do I get an application in? How do I get my name in? Or just, these are my concerns, and what is the next opportunity where I can be heard? I think, at the public hearings, we have citizen participation in the early part of our meetings, and we're not allowed to debate with citizens at that time, but people are allowed to come in, give their thoughts, give their ideas, give their concerns, and at the same time, just like you're writing, scribbling notes right now, someone at that table, whether it's the superintendent, the business office, Dr. Baltasari, Student Services, Curriculum, Wendy Sprague, as those concerns come up, some administrator is writing that down for future reference and future concerns to address with that person. We have a recording secretary, Ms. McLeod. Jeannie would be there. Jeannie, on your way out, would get your email or get your contact information after you spoke and say, someone will get back to you. We're 7 school board members. We're all accessible. We're on the school websites. Our emails are there. Our phone numbers should be on the website, updated by now. We're accessible. But I think most of us would just express to you to start at the school level and make sure that's where you want to begin.
I love it. When you look back, because you've been doing this for a long time now, what's changed the most for you on being a member of the school committee for so many years?
What's changed, I think the infrastructure you talked about, just the buildings themselves and the modern facilities that the students have today. Again, recently we had our new technology director in here, and it's funny you say, I've been doing this a long time, and as I left the house today, my wife and I were trying to figure out when we began and how I began. When my daughter Leah was at the Alta Vesta, and you know, back when the internet was first invented, we were running cables up in the ceiling tiles from one computer to another so that someone could communicate. And here we are many, many years later, and the technology is phenomenal. And that's why the superintendent himself, this superintendent, previous superintendent, Mark Donovan, we always said it. We're educating these students today for jobs that don't even exist yet. I mean, you see it each and every day. And I'm not talking about Silicon Valley. I'm talking right here in Woburn, somewhere in some lab. So much stuff is going on, so much technology. Robotics is happening here. The technology, the modernization of our schools that the students have their hands on is so exciting to see each and every day. And I know I'm trying to do my best with the technology, and I think that the students are just wrap their hands around it. They're so engaged with it that it's just phenomenal.
You know, the technology can do incredible things for us in terms of connecting us to all parts of the world and connecting to each other. But it also allows a lot of self-learning as well, so that if I have a topic that really intrigued me in class and I go home at night, I can go easily study up. And I'm old enough to remember the days when we had an encyclopedia set in the library.
Oh, come
and
on
you had
now.
that big, we had that big volume, and you'd go in there and there was quite literally a defined set of information at my fingertips. And sure, there were other ways to learn, but it took a lot more effort than what we have. But it also means that we have to work harder to know what is fact and what is editorial and what is all of those things. So teaching our students how to navigate information, not just access information, is such an important thing that our schools do.
And you know, you hit the nail on the head there. But again, I think that begins at home as well. Yep. You know, if your child is, you know, excessive screen time at home, maybe the parents have to look into that. Or, you know, if they're doing the homework on a device, that's wonderful. But how much screen time is there? And again, we'll put another plug in for the technology and the staffing and the facility up here at Woburn Memorial High School. Right in the other room over there at the media center, there's what's called the project room. And I've given many a tour of this building, which still excites me to give a tour of the place. A project room. Now, before you mentioned, you know, going down the library and lugging home books and books of encyclopedias, and you're going to do a research paper. You and I are going to do it together. We'll go to your house and open up all these books. Well, right across the hall, there's a project area, so students can get together, go on the internet, use a screen right behind them, research things, and not just do their research paper, research it, do all the notes they have to do, work together as a team, collaborate, and put together presentations, not just turn in a report or a term paper. So I think, again, the technology and availability of what's available to our students today is out there. And you're right. Is too much screen time wrong? I think it starts at home, and it's being monitored here in the school system. Each and every child in the school system, at this building at least, has an email so they can communicate with their teachers. Parents have a parent portal. They can now see what their students have for homework tonight. So when Michael comes home and tells mom and dad, oh, I don't have any math homework. Well, a parent can go on their device and find out, and in fact, that, you know, Michael did have homework in math and he better get to it. So.
Well, I also think that for me as a parent, I know the ability to communicate electronically with teachers has been really helpful, because sometimes it's difficult to get people on the phone, and you certainly don't want to be calling them over their dinner, but I can, you know, in between a meeting, drop a note and then get a, you know, schedule an appointment. So all of that has been incredible. One of the things you said struck me, you know, they're not just turning in a report, they're creating a presentation. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed a change in education from when my kids were little till now, is that they demonstrate their knowledge in many ways. Tests is one of them. We still do tests. But there's more mediums by which I can communicate. And for many students, those other mediums, other than the test, are more inspiring perhaps, or taps into their talents in a different way. And so I love seeing more and more of that happening.
Well, we opened up with thanking the Woburn Public Media Center. I think I'll put a plug in for whoever is in charge of the lip dub here at Woburn Memorial High School.
It's great.
I know who runs around with the cameras. But I think Sue Tivo in the arts department, they, you didn't do a lip dub in high school, did you?
I did not.
Okay,
I did
well,
not.
if you have
This
the
is
opportunity,
true.
I know it's been on YouTube.
I love
and it's
it.
on, obviously, Woburn Public Media streaming. You can look it up. So these lip dub things, again, to your point, Samantha, is that those are student run again. They put together the music with Miss Tivo. They put together choreographies. They put together costumes. They put together all that. And again, that's that student's niche. That's their thing. Everybody has a thing. And I think up here at Woburn Memorial High School, they could find their thing between, talking to the principal, talking to the teachers, talking to a coach. Something's available for everybody in this building. But I think you're absolutely right as far as the medium at which students can present ideas, thoughts, and again, we have 2 student reps in our committee that report to us happenings around Woburn Memorial High School. If they come back with an idea or something that's happening, one of us, Ms. Crowley or someone on the subcommittee, will jot that down and bring it up to the attention of that subcommittee and get back to the student body in this building, because that's their concern and that's their day here at Woburn High.
We are just about running out of time, but I have one more question I want to ask you before we leave, and that is, you talked about the budget coming up, and that is very timely, and that is happening. And we talked a little bit of sort of mentioned in passing, make sure your alderman understands where your position is and how you support the school committee. Where should people look for the budget that's been proposed, and then of course they should know who their aldermen are. If they aren't, there are plenty of places to find that.
Well, it's going to be coming up shortly. I mean, we have a draft proposal of the budget at first. It's, kind of relates to your Christmas list at home. Your kids want everything in the world, and, in reality, Santa Claus is not going to bring you everything in the world. So we start with a draft budget from the superintendent, which is a lot of work. A lot of administrators put a lot of time in, a lot of effort in, and it's not a wish list. It's more of a needs list. What the school district, what those administrators feel the district needs to move our district forward. As far as where it's going to be and when it's going to be available, it'll be online, through the school website shortly. And if your alderman, it just so happens tonight after this session with you, we're going to be out at City Hall. I know you're not going to air, but on Monday night, January 27th, 26th, whatever tonight is, the superintendent's going to present to the City Council, the Finance Subcommittee, just some of the thoughts and ideas moving forward. So they kind of have a heads up when it comes time for the budget. So they got an idea of the direction that the superintendent and the administrators want to go for our students. And again, I can't emphasize enough that, it's not a wish list, it's a needs list. There's lots and lots of information, lots and lots of research gone into the thoughts and ideas and the items that they're going to have on that budget. People may see personnel, but those personnel in the long run, after many years, will save the district money. And we have to each and every year remind the city councilors and thank them for the support in years past, because that money was, as we like to say, money well spent. And money, well invested in this particular area, and it, in the long run, probably could have saved the district money in different ways too. So I think for people to get involved, the people be involved, if you like what you see, and you think it could be improved, you think you see the budget items presented at a school committee meeting, whether on public media or the little bit of print coverage that we get, or even from Twitter, Facebook, wherever you get your information, it's out there. And the city council, again, just like school board members, they're online, they're available. If you don't know who yours are, you can check with Bill Campbell at the City Hall city clerk. He'll direct you to that person. And they're always available to sit down and chat about anything in their district or in their ward. And there's 2 aldermen at large, Mike Concannon and Bob Ferrillo, who also represent the city very well. So I think those are the people that, we start with so that they see it, they get it, so when the mayor presents it to them, and again, being around for a long time, there's been tough budgets. There's been really tough times where, we had to pinch every penny and just get by. No one's giving away the house. We're trying to get by, but we're trying to improve our kids, trying to improve the district, and trying to make 2020 great for everybody.
Thank you so much for your time.
Almost,
Just about. And thank you, Woburn, for listening and for tuning in. These are really important things that we as residents and community members take part in. And sometimes that taking part in is just listening. Some of that time is sharing our perspectives with our aldermen. So particularly around budget seasons, it's always great to understand what's happening and contribute where you feel it's important for us to make investments. Thanks for tuning in.